Yeah, Baza YouTube, SixftHax here. Happy you guys today, the team builder for week number 7 of P4G Season 3. And guys, we are undefeated currently. However though, this week 7 match, we played Joey, aka Pokeaim MD, coach of the Bronx Beartics, who are also undefeated. So one of us will be taking an L this week, and to be 100% honest with you guys, I do not mind actually losing this battle, because the thing about this game, and the thing about Joey as well, is that if I had to bet money on somebody in this league making it to playoffs, even potentially making it to finals, it would be Joey. Like, I think a lot of us would pick Joey in general. Plus, he's been doing amazingly through the season, and because there is a good likelihood that we may also make playoffs, I'm hoping that we'll make playoffs, like fingers crossed that we'll make playoffs and finals and hopefully win the championship. But if we do make playoffs, there is a really good chance that we're going to play Joey. So with that in mind, this team was not made by me. This team was made by one of my front office homies. And if we do lose, it's fine. I'm not going to be upset. Like, I'll comfortably take the L, and we can kind of get a feel of what Joey may want to bring. This is kind of like the point of this battle. We don't have to bring our best preps, and I kind of just want to get a feel of what Joey may want to bring against me, or like what he may be expecting, and then we can kind of go from there potentially in the actual like playoff match if we do play. So if you guys do enjoy this, hammer arm that thumbs up button down below. Also, this team builder is going to be on Showdown, just because when this goes live, I'm going to be on vacation. So I'm going to do this quickly on Showdown, and then that way I can spend a little bit less time while I put more focus into the actual battle editing, and then I can get this up on time. And yeah, so hope you guys don't mind. Once we come back for week 8, we should be back on the Wi-Fi team builder aspect of it. So let's take a look at the team matchup. First off, the biggest threat honestly on Joey's team, actually he's got 2-3 kind of big threats, but Zydog, of course, absurdly terrifying. Something like Dragon Dance, Z Dark Zydog, I fully expect just to try to break through Gourgeist potentially. Guts Hariyama is really scary as well, because Guts Hariyama just kind of comes in, and with the right amount of pressure, it can potentially just get a free KO. And then Roserade is very scary, because switching into like Life Orb Roserade or potential Specs Roserade is really difficult for us to try to do. So we both have offensive threats. At the same time though, I feel like I have a bit more of an advantage on my defensive options as opposed to Joey's defensive options. Like, don't get me wrong, Vullaby is extremely fat. Mesprit is a great bulky mon, can also be offensive. Seismitoad, a great defensive mon. Of course, regular Deontay is also really solid as a defensive mon. And speaking of Deontay, he needs to at least bring Deontay or Mawile, because we do have Noivern. Otherwise, Noivern just kind of comes in, we click Draco Meteor, and things just drop. So I do fully expect at least one of his fairies. Vullaby may come just because it's really annoying to deal with. Like, knockoff spam in general is really good. It can boost, it can defog, it can U-turn, and that's going to be a bit of a nuisance to deal with. Tauros is kind of scary. Incineroar is also really scary, because knockoff from Incineroar is going to be a potential issue to switch into, although Incineroar is kind of slow, so we may be able to take advantage of that. Regardless though, we do have to prep for it. And the thing about this matchup too is that there is a likelihood that he could bring any of his 9 mons, so the top 6 are not necessarily what I do expect, but they are what I think may be well, no, like I don't want to say I expect them to come, but at the same time I do kind of expect the top 6 to come. But basically he can switch anything around is what I'm trying to say, so there's no real specific order. Let's just go with that. But yeah, let's jump into our first team member here, which is going to be Wingspan, aka Heracross. Now, while Guts Heracross does just kind of come in and forces Joey to pick a sack every time, Scarf Heracross is also phenomenal, because if we get rid of the Deontay and the Mawile, if we weaken them, and potentially the Vullaby even, then once we get our Moxie going, there's not really too much that he can do to stop this. Like, Fake Out plus Bullet Punch I think is very likely to come on the Hariyama, so I think he's definitely going to be bringing that if he does want to bring Guts. And of course he could bring like Bandit E-Speed, so we do have to be careful with that. But I mean, Heracross does have decent natural bulk, so we can tank an E-Speed, we can potentially tank Fake Out into Bullet Punch and still just kind of rack up our KOs. And if we don't get too unlucky with like Mega Horns, or if we can kind of put ourselves in a position of where we can click Close Combat instead of Mega Horn, then that's going to be a little bit more beneficial. But of course, we're going to have to get information on what type of priority he is going to have on the squad. Bullet Seed there is just kind of like a filler move. I don't completely agree with that move, but it's Bullet Seed, so I guess it could hit the Deontay and the Seismitoad for a bit more damage. But yeah, just Scarf Heracross in general is pretty solid this matchup. And moving on to our next team member, we have a very interesting set. This set's actually really cool because this should guarantee that we're able to break through to Deontay. If he doesn't have the Berry, or if he doesn't have Protect, then we can kind of surprise him with this, and that's kind of the idea behind this set. It would be nice to maybe have a U-turn on this just for momentum, but Defog I think does have to come mainly for the fact that he could try and spike stack us. So if we at least have Defog in the back, we can hopefully prevent that and get rid of any types of hazards that he does get up against us. So Frisk in general is going to be really good because it's going to allow us to kind of scout his mons and get a better feel of what sets he is running on some of his mons. Because again, I've said this before and I firmly stand by this. Just knowing what item your opponent has on a Pokemon gives you so much valuable information. I mean, obviously, if you know what the item is already, then you don't need Frisk. But if you don't know what they have and you're kind of struggling to figure out what a set is, Frisk is just so good, man. It's really, really an underrated ability, I think, and a lot of people don't talk about it or they just overlook it. But again, I firmly stand by the fact that Frisk is just so good. But yeah, Hurricane and Draco Meteor just kind of hit everything. As much as I would love to have Air Slash, we kind of need the extra power from the Hurricane, which is nice. And then once his fairies drop, we just click Draco and things also just kind of drop. So yeah, that's all really Noivern is going to do. It's going to come in, click a stab, hopefully knock out the Deontay if he were to bring it, and then we go from there. So next off, we have a Assault Vest Nidoking. Now, I know this may seem a little bit odd because offensively, Nidoking is terrifying for him to deal with. Like, he does not exactly have the best switch-ins to this Nidoking. However, though, since offensive Roserade is so scary, and there is a likelihood he's going to run Psychic on his Mesprit, that AV Nidoking does kind of have some merit, because this can allow us to potentially surprise KO Roserade, or surprise KO the Mesprit, and that's where Sucker Punch as well comes in handy, because once we get off that Sludge Wave damage, that Ice Beam damage, the Earth Power damage, then Sucker Punch does that extra little bit of damage with hazards up and potential Life Orb recoil from the Roserade. Then we're going to be able to hopefully knock them out or put them in range of where they're going to knock themselves out to the Life Orb, mainly Roserade. But Mesprit being able to be Sucker Punch is still really nice. And if he does bring a defensive Mesprit set, then we're going to be able to outspeed it regardless. So that's going to be excellent. Not to mention that Sucker Punch can also help out against potentially Tauros if he were to bring that, or maybe like a Trick Room Duosion. So we have that little bit of priority for that potential extra damage. But I think this set, I tweaked the set a bit. The original set he had, I think, was like max HP and max special attack, but I tweaked it a bit, and we can guarantee live one Life Orb Leaf Storm. If we know he's Life Orb, then Ice Beam into Sucker Punch, followed up by the Life Orb hit or two, depending on rolls, will knock out the Roserade. So if I can trade Nidoking for a Roserade, I think I'll gladly take that, just because offensive Life Orb Roserade is really just an annoying Pokemon to deal with. And then with these coverage moves, we hit everything for neutral or super effective damage, which is amazing, honestly. So next off, we have our best switch into Hariyama and Zydog. Now, there is a good likelihood that both are going to come, but the great thing about Gourgeist being so fat is that even if our Clover Berry is popped and he is Adamant Guts Hariyama, he does not 2-hit KO us, and that is, oh no, these are in speed, hold on. Yeah, that is a little bit ridiculous if you ask me, honestly, because again, Guts Hariyama, easily the biggest threat on his team, but Gourgeist can kind of mitigate that. Now, why I still consider Hariyama a giant threat, while we can, in theory, switch in, stall it out, and then C-Bomb and potentially beating it 1v1, is that we mainly need Gourgeist to deal with the Zydog. So if it comes down between potentially having to lose my Clover Berry and I still don't know what Zydog is running, then I don't know if I'll feel too comfortable in switching this directly in on the Heracross. So I need to be very careful how I play around the Hariyama and the Zydog if he were to bring Bell. Toxic is really nice because the best switch into this most likely is going to be Volibee. So if we can catch that with a Toxic, we put it on a timer, and that's excellent. We could also potentially catch an Incineroar with the Toxic if he feels comfortable and hard switching into that. And then between Seed Bomb and Foul Play, everything takes a pretty solid damage, and we do pretty good damage to everything as well. Synthesis, because Synthesis, keeping this healthy is going to be very, very crucial, I think, for both of those mons if you were to bring them. Also, this can kind of help against the Tauros if for some reason he's not running Fire Blast, or if we skillfully dodge. So next off, we have our rocker in the form of Marshtomp here. This is actually really nice to be able to deal with Incineroar, mainly Incineroar, honestly, if we were to bring it. This can also tank physical hits from the Hariyama, the Zydog. We can tank hits from the Malwa, the Deontay, if it is not carrying HP Grass. Same thing from Tauros. If Mesprit doesn't have the Energy Ball, we tank that. Same thing for Duosion, although we don't do much to Duosion, but we can Toxic the other things. We could potentially burn them with the Scald. Ice Beam is mainly just to be able to do about 80 to 90-ish% to the Zydog, which is a lot of good damage if you ask me. So if we can maybe take a trade for the Zydog in this, I think I would gladly take that. But rocks are going to be nice just to kind of get that chip damage on his team that we may need for KOs for Heracross late game, or even Noivern and potentially the Nidoking. And then finally off, we have, the Umbreon here, rocking a nice mixed defensive set. With this Spadef investment, we are able to switch into Life Orb Roserade. As long as we don't get really unlucky with rolls and with poisons, then we should still be able to kind of like stall out Roserade, potentially be able to pass off Wishes. Moonlight's really good. Both Moonlight and Wish, I think, are really good, because if we show him Wish, he may not expect us to have the Moonlight, so that could affect how he plays, and then vice versa. If we have Moonlight, he doesn't see Wish, then he won't see us potentially passing off a Wish to Gourgeist, our Nidoking, or our Marshtomp potentially. And then Baton Pass could be really good for momentum, because Malwa really switches into this, so does the Deontay, and potentially even the Incineroar, and Vullaby as well. So being able to Baton Pass out against those could be very, very crucial in the end. So yeah, guys, that is going to be our squad for this week. If we lose, we lose. That's fine. Joey can win the battle, but we will win the war. If we win, then we'll win the battle, and we'll hopefully win the war in playoffs. So yeah, that is our squad, guys. So let me know what are the 6 mons you potentially would have brought to this game, and I will see you all tomorrow at 2 p.m. is when I think he mainly uploads his matches. I'm pretty sure they normally, it's either 2 or 4 p.m. I think that's when Joey normally uploads anyways. But yeah, regardless though, hopefully you guys did enjoy it. And with that being said, I'll see y'all tomorrow.
No matter where you're at, I'm not here to make friends, it's time to attack and deplete your HP with a final smash. Don't make me turn around and pull a 6-foot hacks. 6 foot hacks, yeah. 6 foot hacks, yeah. 6 foot hacks.